Hi everyone, and today we're going to talk about your choice between getting crushed in a mass of humanity or falling into something that's ambiguous and probably perilous. The game is The Fog Escape from Paradise by Xollox and Grand Gamers Guild. It's a game where you're trying to escape an island of sorts and get onto a boat before everybody else does. We're going to talk about the game, then I'll tell you what I think about it. Here's the board, everyone. I'm not quite set up because there are really two parts of play, and I play a drafting phase and a movement phase, but I want to talk about setup too because it's kind of important, although this should be done randomly. We have done this already. This is somewhat random as far as the points that you'll get for those who get on the boats. This part is not random. I've set it up for a 4-player game. This is also set up for a 4-player game. And I have my personal player board over here with the pink, purplish kind of tokens. We have 15 of these obstacles. We're going to put them out based on what's over here on the right side of the forest. You can see here that this says put 0 in the first row. On the next row, we're going to put 0, and then on the next one, we're going to put 1. The next one, we're going to put 1, and on the next one, we're going to put 1. Part of what should be happening is we want to end up with no more than 2 of these together, and then eventually, once we put all these people out, we want to have no more than 1 empty space. So we're going to just keep doing that, following that, where we go like this, 1 and 2, just
randomizing these spaces somewhat, and we have 2 here and 2 up here, and it's okay if they're a little bit the same.
Some driftwood out by the beach, that's okay. And you'll notice we have 5 at the end here. So we'll do a little bit of that. There's 2 there, 2 there, and let's say we just do 1 here like that. After you're done setting up your obstacles, you're going to take the rest of the people and do them randomly. I'm just going to do this. So we do 1 red, 1 green, 1 blue like that. Let's set up. Now that we're set up, you can see there's a pretty good even distribution. We don't have more than 1. Right there we do have more than 1, so we're just going to adjust that real quick. No more than 1 empty space by itself in all these rows. And we followed all the other directions. No more than 2 of these touching for the obstacles. And now we're ready for the first portion of the game, which is really pretty important, but people don't quite get it at first. It's the draft phase where each player going in bottom up. So bottom up in turn order. This is the last person who's going to play during the movement phase, but they're going to get select first during the draft phase. So it will go orange and then turquoise and then green and then pink get to select. Once all that's done, you'll get ready to do the next part of the game. The next part of the game is the movement phase. So the draft phase is pretty important for selecting what you're going to do, but the movement phase is where you're going to use those people and try to get them onto the boats. You're going to have a timer that you're going to use. So let's take a look at that. All right, so here we are with the board set up. We already did our drafting. We already have all our setup with our obstacles and everything else. We do have our counters down here for playing the game. and getting points at the end. We'll talk about that at the end. But what you're going to be doing is taking a turn to move up to 7. So in this case, now pink is going to go first. And I do want to show you one other thing here. Let's look at this board real quick. So this shows the player order who's playing currently. So I have, like I said, set it up for 4 players. So pink's going to go first, then green, then turquoise, then orange. And then when they're done with their turn, this box is going to keep moving around. One important thing to note is whenever you see this little gray cube with an arrow, the fog marker is going to move. It's kind of an advantage to go first, depending on what you drafted. But let's take a look at the different types of movement for the characters. So we want to get on to the ships. In order to get onto the ships, we're going to use all these different characters. And this is shown, the different types of movement are also shown on this board here, but the characters can basically get a bonus of doing things that are their type of movement for 2. So like this one is one that lets you hop over. So by hopping over, you can go over another character. Let's say for some reason this was like this, maybe like that. And turquoise could use 2 points of movement. You're going to have 7 points of movement at the beginning of your turn. And with that 7 points of movement, you get to do things like, if I use the 2 here, I can jump over for 2, because that's what this symbol means here, is jump over. So I would have used 2. And then I could use another one to get to this part of the beach, which is going to be safe at the end of the game from the fog, even if I don't make it onto the boat, which means at least I'm not losing points. So that would take me 3 points to do that if I wanted to do something like that. I didn't really look at these when I drafted, I just did it. But another one that we might want to use is this one is a movement one. So this one can push in a single direction 1 or 2 other characters. So I could use 2 points of movement with this to push here, and then that would get it out of my way a little bit. I can move up and maybe get me safe or get me closer to getting something else I need, or helping out another one of my characters. So that would cost another 2 because this character has it. Another one, let's say this were over here. Maybe I used, I don't know, or I had gotten there in the past, used something to get that. Maybe that's why I pushed and got that out of the way. This symbol has like a little mountain with an arrow. It lets me jump over the obstacles for 2 points of movement. All of these things that each character can do are also replicated on that board that I showed you here. So just moving a single space is 1 point of movement, but other things cost 3 or 4. Depending on who you are. There's also a character that just has a 3 on it. Everything, even the ones that normally cost 4, only cost 3 for that character. There's one that has a +1. So if I move 1 at the end of its normal movement, and then it gets another movement for free. So it gets to move 2 when you move 1. Maybe this looked more like this. This one that has the split can go from here to here, splitting the gap between here for 2 points of movement. So that'd be pretty nice to do too. And then we also have, let's see, we did the jump, we did the over the obstacle one, we did the push, we did the split movement, and then there's a nice one that's called swap, one of my favorite ones. This is just something that costs 3 to do. This is not one that any of these have, but it costs 3 to do for all, and you can just swap one of your characters with another character on the board from another player. So that would cost 3 to do. You use all of your movement, and then your turn is done, and it passes to the next player. Ultimately, your goal is to get up onto these boats by the end of the game. You won't have to get matching people onto these spaces. So like this guy can go here, and he's a red guy. So a red guy going on a red boat is good because when I get there, if I'm the first one there, I'm going to get one of these 6-point tokens. If I'm turquoise, so that would go to turquoise over here. And at the end of the game, it's also going to be worth 5 points. And we'll go over all that scoring. This is just a good thing to do because I got a red one onto a red boat. It's safe, and it's giving me positive points. So you're going to go through that. There's also these spaces that hold 3, 2, and 3. You can put different ones there. You can move there. You can move through these spaces. There's also a space here, and here, and here, and here on these pier type of things between the boats that allow you to access the boats. You can only stop on places that actually match your type. So this one would want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to get up there to the top. Ideally, maybe even go over here So probably move more like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to get there from here. So you keep playing that way until either everybody has gotten their people up here or lost them to the fog and they can't move anymore, or the fog reaches this final space, which is 0, and everybody's on the beach. You'll notice that there is still -2 points for the people that get stuck on the beach at the end of the game. Besides that, what you're going to score is 4 points for every islander that is in the correct boat. So red ones on red, green on green, blue on blue. That might be hard for you to see if you struggle with colors. I'm not sure. I didn't get to play with any people who were colorblind or didn't see these colors well, so I'm not sure on that one. But I did notice that these were interesting color choices because there's nothing else besides colors here. The other thing you'll score is these preparation things. So whoever gets those, again, is going to be grabbing those throughout the game. Then you're going to score your negative points for people stuck here back behind the fog if they didn't make it out in time. And you're going to get your positive points for each villager you have in each section of the boat. So this top section right now in this game is worth 7. This section is worth 5. This section is worth 5. This could have also been a 4. This was, sorry. A 4, maybe I grabbed the wrong one. There we go. 5 and a 4, but it just randomized it. So 7, 5, 5, 4, and then this one is 3. So these sections are randomized at the beginning of the game for how much they're worth for each villager in them, and then you count up your score. And so that's the game. You're just going to go around like that, and each time the fog proceeds, it's going to be probably swallowing up a person or two, and it's going to keep advancing towards people. You're going to be trying to make the best moves you can as quickly as you can so that you can get your people off using your 7 points of movement each turn. And it keeps going around and around like that. So there's a built-in timer to the game too, which is kind of nice that way. So that's the basics of the gameplay. I didn't go over everything. There's some different things you can add in. You can change the setup of the game. There's some bigger boards too. I played this game at solo and 2-player and 3-player and 4-player. I did not get to play it at the 5 and 6-player counts, which I wanted to, but I also wanted to get this video done before Gen Con 2024 because this copy was provided me by Grand Gamers Guild. And so I'm going to give you my thoughts at 4. At this point, what I would say is I'm not sure that I would play it at 5 or 6 anyway. The game gets a little bit crowded. I think my ideal player count is probably 3. There's some variable things that happen each time with your different player counts. 4 was fine too. But what I liked about the game is that it's fairly easy to understand. There's those nice player boards. I liked that it reminds you of what you should be doing on your turn. I liked the little snaking player turn thing that made it a little bit of planning, but also like, oh man, how can I get ready for that? Because people are going to mess with you. This is a mean little game where you're trying to do your best to escape, but inevitably the fog is going to keep coming for you. Related to that, the meat of the game in some ways, the main part of the game in some ways is that initial draft. And if you're very good at kind of planning ahead, yes, the movement's there too, but like you can do things to make sure that your people are better set up to get off the island. But then people might also mess with you too. So there's a lot that goes into that draft phase, even though the movement phase is important too. They're both equally important. And the fact that you're using a timer, it means that some people are going to be naturally better at this than others. I guess you could play without the timer. I also think that at 2 players, it's a little bit strange. I don't need to play this at solo again either. At 2 players, you're playing 2 factions and you only score your lower faction. Overall, I like the game. I just don't want to set it up again. That's the fiddliest part of the game, is all the setup, everything else that goes into that. It just takes a lot of time to set up and put away, due to the nature. I don't know if there's a better way to do it either, though. The nature of taking these little tokens and putting these in little holders, it's kind of neat, but it also just takes a lot of time. The time to play, depending on which map you use and if you do variable setup and all that, goes up for a larger player count too. And that's part of the reason I said I don't know if I would want to play it at 5 or 6. It says that it's like a 2-hour game at 6 people. And I kind of believe that because of the way AP kind of happens as you see movement happening on the board, people pushing things around, jumping over things, getting to places where you want to get, or maybe you had that spot picked out on a certain boat. And yes, there's more boats as you have more players, but I don't know if I want that much more squishy complexity to it, that complexity of people just getting in each other's way. It does a very good job of feeling the way that you want it to feel for this type of game. As you can see, this is just a squash board where everybody's in a jumble together to just kind of get out of here. And yeah, I'm just doing that. But this is kind of how it feels at times, is that you're just trying to get out of this bottleneck as the fog comes and gets you. And you're going to lose some pieces, and some people are just going to lose out. I like the idea of this game. Some people are going to really get into it. Some people are not going to like that fiddliness to it, though. It has a nice presentation, cool pieces, well done that way. But also there's stuff that, like, there's no reason for it to be here yet. There's even like a starting player tile and a victory tile that do nothing at this point. If you get on BGG and look it up, it's like, oh, that's planned for later on. There's nothing that they do right now. So like, I don't understand why we are even putting those in the rules. There's a little story in there and it talks about different characters, and I wasn't really invested in that personally, but it's there if you're into that sort of thing. So final thoughts on The Fog Escape from Paradise. If you are into a really squishy mess of humanity sort of game where you're going to be getting in each other's way and you might have AP, but guess what? The timer is going to make you keep moving along. This might be a game for you. If that sounds too chaotic, too random, then it's probably not a game that you're going to enjoy. Even though there is a lot of player choice, there's a lot of player interaction too. Thanks for watching. Happy gaming. Let me know what you think of the video. And thanks again to Grand Gamers Guild for my copy of the game. Happy gaming.